Welcome to episode 21, Backup and Recovery Essentials for E1, where we focus on the safeguards that keep operations running even when things go wrong. Backups are the safety net of cybersecurity, quiet, often overlooked, but vital when incidents strike. They protect not only data but also business continuity, allowing organizations to recover quickly from failures, ransomware, or accidental deletions. E1 emphasizes this domain because resilience is part of security. Prevention alone is never enough. Imagine a small clinic hit by an encryption attack. Without good backups, it loses patient files, billing records, and trust overnight. With disciplined backup and recovery planning, the same clinic can restore within hours. The goal of E1 is not just to have copies, but to prove that those copies are reliable, secure, and ready when needed most. Scope is another critical element, because not every file or server needs the same level of protection. E1 calls for organizations to identify which systems and data are critical to business operations and include them in the formal backup plan. This step ensures focus on what truly matters, such as databases, configuration files, and shared drives that store essential records. Non-critical systems may use lighter methods or rely on replication. By defining scope clearly, organizations avoid wasting resources on low-value data, while ensuring that key assets are never missed. For example, a marketing workstation might only need periodic backups, but the financial ledger server requires nightly copies. This prioritization turns backup from an ad hoc task into a strategic function. Backup frequency and retention policy determine how often data is captured and how long it is stored. E1 requires both parameters to be documented and enforced consistently. Frequency should align with RPO, meaning backups occur often enough to meet business tolerance for data loss. Retention defines how many copies are kept and for how long, perhaps daily backups retained for 30 days and monthly backups for a year. These policies protect against both short-term accidents and long-term discovery needs, such as compliance inquiries. Automated systems can enforce retention rules to prevent accidental overwriting or excessive accumulation. When auditors review this area, they look for schedules, configuration screenshots, and storage reports proving that backup practices match declared policies. Immutable or offline backups create an additional layer of protection against ransomware and insider misuse. An immutable copy cannot be altered or deleted during a set retention period, while an offline copy remains disconnected from the network entirely. E1 recognizes that modern attacks often target backups first to prevent recovery. For example, ransomware might encrypt connected drives and cloud storage simultaneously. Having at least one copy stored offline or in a write-protected format ensures survivability. Organizations might achieve this through object lock features in cloud storage or by keeping periodic backups on removable media stored securely. The essential principle is separation, ensuring that a single attack cannot destroy all backup layers. Encryption in transit and at rest protects backup data wherever it resides. When data moves across networks or sits on storage media, it must remain unreadable to unauthorized parties. E1 requires that backup systems use strong encryption standards, ensuring that confidentiality holds even if a tape or disk is lost. For instance, a nightly cloud backup of customer records should use encrypted channels like transport layer security and encrypt the files themselves before upload. This dual approach defends against interception and theft. Encryption also supports privacy obligations and regulatory alignment. It demonstrates that security extends beyond the live environment into the recovery layer, reinforcing that protection never stops at the boundary of production systems. Key management and access controls are the backbone of encryption effectiveness. Strong encryption becomes meaningless if keys are poorly stored or widely shared. E1 expects organizations to manage keys securely, restrict access, and rotate them periodically. Keys might be held within dedicated key management services or hardware security modules to prevent exposure. Access to restore data should also follow least privilege principles. Only authorized personnel can initiate backup or recovery actions. For example, separating duties so that one team performs backups and another performs restores helps prevent abuse. Clear logs of key use and access attempts create traceability, assuring auditors that sensitive recovery data cannot be misused or decrypted without oversight. Backup monitoring and failure alerts ensure that systems perform as intended. Backups can silently fail due to storage errors, connectivity issues, or misconfigurations. E1 expects proactive monitoring that detects and reports failures promptly. For instance, if a daily backup job skips a database due to space limitations, alerts should reach administrators before the next cycle. Dashboards, logs, and email notifications help maintain visibility. Regular review of backup status reports prevents surprises during recovery. Automated alerting reduces dependence on manual checks and proves that the organization actively manages backup reliability. A backup unseen is a backup untrusted. Visibility transforms uncertainty into confidence. Restoration testing is the true measure of backup readiness. Backups have no value until they are proven restorable. E1 calls for periodic tests where data or full systems are recovered and verified against expectations. Documentation should record what was restored, how long it took, and whether objectives were met. For example, restoring a database from last week's backup confirms both data integrity and speed of response. Testing uncovers gaps in procedures, permissions, or hardware that might block recovery during a crisis. Organizations that schedule routine tests, quarterly or semi-annually, develop confidence that their backups work under pressure. In the E1 context, test results serve as living evidence of resilience. Disaster recovery roles and runbooks define who does what when a major outage occurs. E1 expects clear assignment of responsibilities, escalation contacts, and step-by-step restoration guides. A runbook might specify who authorizes recovery, which systems restore first, and how communication flows to leadership and customers. These documents convert chaos into order when time matters most. For example, if a regional power failure knocks out primary servers, the runbook guides restoration at alternate sites without hesitation. Keeping these materials current through periodic review ensures that people, not just technology, are ready. When human and technical readiness align, recovery becomes faster and safer. Cloud services and shared responsibility introduce new dimensions to backup planning. In cloud environments, providers may secure the infrastructure, but customers are often responsible for backing up data within their accounts. E1 requires organizations to understand and document this division. For example, a cloud-based email system might offer limited retention, requiring customers to configure their own archival backups. Treating cloud data with the same rigor as on-premise systems prevents unpleasant surprises during recovery. Evidence of configuration settings, data export routines, or provider assurances demonstrates compliance. Shared responsibility means shared diligence. Organizations must know where their role begins and ends. Third-party backup tools extend capabilities but add oversight requirements. When using vendors for backup software or managed services, E1 expects due diligence to confirm security practices and reliability. Contracts should specify retention, encryption, and support obligations. For instance, a managed backup provider should supply reports confirming job success and restoration tests. Organizations remain accountable even when outsourcing execution. Regular review of vendor performance, security certifications, and incident response capabilities keeps trust grounded in evidence. Documenting this oversight satisfies E1 expectations and ensures that partners uphold the same standards as internal teams. Evidence for this domain includes logs of successful backups, alert histories, restoration reports, and screenshots showing encryption or policy enforcement. Reviewers seek proof that backup operations are both continuous and verifiable. A strong evidence package might include sample restore results or test summaries demonstrating that objectives were achieved. Gathering this information continuously builds a story of control in motion, not control on paper. In E1, evidence is less about perfection and more about credibility. It shows that recovery is not theoretical, but practiced, measured, and ready. Consistency is the mark of assurance across all E1 requirements. A reliable and tested recovery capability transforms uncertainty into confidence. Backups prove that security does not end with prevention but continues through restoration. When organizations can demonstrate timely recovery, they protect their reputation, maintain trust, and meet their mission even under stress. E1 recognizes that accidents, failures, and attacks will happen. What matters is readiness to respond. A mature backup and recovery program turns crisis into continuity. Every test, alert, and documented success reinforces the message that resilience is deliberate. Over time, disciplined recovery planning becomes not just a requirement, but a hallmark of responsible operations.